Hello, and welcome to the historic Stanley Hotel, the most haunted hotel in the entire United States. Now, this is a hotel review like any other on the channel, but there's something a little bit different about it. Stick around for the end. We're going to give it a final score like always out of 50, based on the room, the ambiance, the service, the dining, and the it factor. Just a quick note that we are not affiliated with the Stanley Hotel, with Stanley Kubrick, with The Shining, or with Stephen King. But it is time to check in. Whoa, look at this. Hello? Here? Oh, well, look at this. Okay, I guess we got our room key. Let's go and explore the hotel. God, way too many mirrors. All right, so I chose to stay in the most haunted room in this entire hotel, the Cowboy Attic, and Alex is checking in to 215. That's the room right next to the Stephen King suite, which is 217, right over here. Wow, look at that, dude.
What?
Stephen King suite.
No way.
That is where Stephen King wrote The Shining many years ago. Actually, Stephen King was having a nightmare while staying in that room, which technically was also 215. That suite used to be all one. He was having a nightmare about this hose right here strangling and attacking his son, and that was the basis for the entire Shining franchise, including the film by Stanley Kubrick. Pretty cool. So some of the staff at the hotel said that the hotel itself wasn't actually that haunted until Stephen King wrote The Shining in that room. Then tourists from all over the world came into the hotel and started doing Ouija boards and seances and attracting a bunch of spirits and apparitions into this building without releasing them properly. This is just what I'm hearing from the staff. And that means that there are tons of ghosts from all over the world that now live in the Stanley Hotel. It could be why it is one of the most haunted, if not the most haunted hotel in the entire United States. So this creepy place is the Lodge, which is right next to the main Stanley building. They actually built the Lodge so that the men could have a place to stay. See, when the Stanley opened, women and men that weren't married actually couldn't cohabitate together. So they needed to build a separate second building that is supposed to be an exact replica of the first. So the women would stay at the main Stanley building and the Lodge was just for the guys. So I know you're not here with me right now, but it definitely has this haunted, kind of creepy feeling, just like the main building. But they did say that this building specifically, if you put a bottle of whiskey in front of the front door, apparently that protects you from the spirits that still reside in the Lodge at the Stanley. The hotel even features a 1909 Otis elevator. Takes you from room to room, floor to floor. And every time you get on it, you think it might be the last time. I'm sitting here in one of the Stanley steamers, co-created by the founder of the Stanley Hotel. You see, he moved to Estes Park, Colorado when the doctor told him he only had a couple of months left to live. His dream with his wife was to create a luxurious hotel. Turns out pursuing that dream kept him alive. That is the start of the Stanley Hotel, and at the time, it was one of the most premium hotels in the entire United States, and one of the only with heating and interior air conditioning. And honestly, in just walking around this hotel, it seems like little has changed since the hotel originally opened. However, it has seen many celebrities, emperors, presidents walk through its front doors and stay here. And of course, you have Stephen King, who wrote The Shining in room 217. So that was intense. I am way too tired and way too scared to do the room review tonight. So I'll see you in the morning. That was a crazy night. So after that terrifying night, I got a chance to clean up the room a little bit, and this is the Cowboy Attic, which, by the way, is the most haunted hotel room in the United States. Stanley Hotel, most haunted hotel, and the Cowboy Attic is the most haunted room in this hotel, according to the staff. Guests who have stayed here have reported they've seen a cowboy walking back and forth in the middle of the night, leaning in to kiss them when they're sleeping, and various other counts of paranormal activity that have happened in this room. I'm going to give it a standard room review like most of our other videos, but remember, if you're staying here at the Cowboy Attic at the Stanley Hotel, it's because it's haunted and it's because you like things like ghosts kissing you in the middle of the night. So starting with this side of the room, there's a standard closet, pretty normal over here. I will note that all of the rooms in the building are pretty worn down. This building's been around for a long time. And so, yes, they've done a great job in keeping it up, but it does have that classic historic feel to it. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at everything. Good example, this door doesn't actually close all the way. If you go to close it, kind of bounces back. Not that big of an inconvenience, but just something that comes with an older building like this. In that same vein, you come over here and you can see everything from the lampshade to the wall itself, and some of the molding that they have around the room is pretty worn. I wonder if that is an intentional choice to really fit with the aesthetic of the hotel, the historic feel of it, and the history, and the fact that so many things have happened in this hotel that are incredible, or if it's just the fact that they haven't been updated in a while. But either way, I really do think it works, and it fits the vibe for the room. You have a massive bed here in the Cowboy Attic, and it is relatively comfortable. Is it as comfortable as the Four Seasons in Anguilla, for example? No, definitely not. Is it more comfortable than a standard hotel you normally stay in at this rate? Yeah, absolutely. As per usual, we're going to test out the bed. Pretty firm, honestly. Not the worst bed of any hotel that we've reviewed. The worst part about it, however, is the fact that you will probably see a ghost while you're laying here. Last night I did not, and I'm thankful for that. We're staying here a couple of nights, so we'll see if anything happens, and maybe we'll record it. So now moving over here, there's definitely an eclectic feel to the hotel. Everything works pretty nicely together. Again, it's a historic building, so it feels like that. But there are a few pieces that are very intentional and uniquely different than the rest of the room. The lamppost here is a good example of that, as is the one on the other side of the bed. You have a nice little area to sit where you can, put on your boots or watch your cowboy ghost friend put on his boots in the middle of the night. And over here, you have a little work area. What's unique about this area is the view. If you look out of this window, incredible views of the Rocky Mountains. You have the garden down below with the maze that they built. We'll take a look at that a little bit later today. And you have a workstation here and a nice chair to sit in. A little bit of an awkward setup. The most awkward thing in this area, however, is right here. I really couldn't tell you what this is. I looked at it for a while last night and this morning. It's almost like it was a shelf that they put glass over, so you can't actually use the shelf. Almost like maybe it should be displaying something, but there's nothing in there. So that is really strange. There is this modern thermostat right above it, and the thermostat works decently well. The building itself is cold. It's an older building. There's a lot of drafting and leakage in a lot of the wood and the doors. So of course it's going to be cold, and it was pretty cold last night. I like to sleep in the cold. Some people maybe don't. Keep that in mind. Dress warm. Bring a lot of layers if you're coming to the Stanley Hotel. However, they do have a nice thermostat right here that is more modern than the rest of the room, maybe circa 2000. Coming over here now, you may have noticed there's a Keurig machine and a couple of other nice amenities. So like a standard hotel room, you can have your coffee. There is no minibar, and there is no water or anything provided in the room in that regard. So a little interesting, kind of strange. Normally you'd at least have a couple bottles of water, especially when it's this dry here in Colorado. But we're in Estes Park. There's a lot of grocery stores right next door. I would say grab a couple of things on the way if you're going to be thirsty or hungry in the middle of the night. Now, in the last section of this room, we have a seating area. Personally, I feel that this area feels the most haunted. I know last night when I was looking across the room at about 3 in the morning, this area felt like it had a heaviness to it. There's some old sepia photos that line it that feel like the Stanley Hotel, maybe when it first opened. Some of them are repeated around the building. You can see them in the halls as well. You've got this old kind of couch that has these flower decals that match the carpeting. So there's this almost fleur kind of French looking design and decor that's happening here. And then of course you have the window, which overlooks right to the front of the Stanley Hotel and the lodge next door. So I'll give you a positive and a negative over here. The positive, the view is absolutely extraordinary, beautiful with the mountain range right there. Those are the Rocky Mountains. You can see the front of the Stanley Hotel and the lodge. The negative, there's cracks in this glass, which means there's a lot of cold air that's coming in the winter right now, and it's hard to keep this room warm. Like I said, it's pretty cold, and sleeping in here was definitely frigid last night. That adds to the spookiness factor as well. I heard ghosts like the cold. You're on the top floor, big window, beautiful views, probably haunted. Now, and finally, let's look at the bathroom. So the room might be a little dated, but the bathroom is actually pretty modern for a hotel like this. You have a nice walk-in shower, there's a copper sink, the water gets hot really quickly, it has great pressure, normal modern toilet. Everything is pretty well done here in the bathroom. So the only downside is it is pretty small in here, but they make up for it with how well the staff appoints this room. And what I mean by that is they are folding everything. The towels are a work of art in here. You have a towel folded into a holster for the soaps and the lotion. You have a towel holding another towel, and you have the toilet paper folded into a flower right here, which is a really nice touch. It reminds me of being a kid and going on one of those kind of Disney cruises or Disney trips, and they fold your towel into an animal in the room. I've always loved that. I think it's a nice touch, and I think it's going away in the hotel industry. So shout out to the team here at the Stanley. But like always, and like the bed, we have to test the shower. Let's take a look. Very smooth glass door to open. A lot of space in here, some beautiful mosaic work that's done on the wall. But let's see how the pressure is and how hot it gets and how quickly. Pretty phenomenal pressure, evenly spaced out. It looks like a brand new modern shower head. And the water got hot almost instantly, even up here in the mountains. I'd give that a 9 out of 10. Now in the shower, they have some amenities here. They have body wash, conditioner, and shampoo that have a really nice little design on them, and they are branded the Stanley. So they do have custom products here for you to use as well, which is always a nice touch. The bathroom is one of the better ones that I've ever seen, even though it's a little small. All right, I don't know about you, but I can't spend another minute in this room. I'm a little bit creeped out. So let's go out into the hotel and see what they have at the restaurant. This is Brunch & Co., the all-day brunch location at the Stanley Hotel. Excited because after breakfast today, we are going to go into town in Estes Park and grab a bunch of gear for ghost hunting tonight. So we're going to show you everything we're going to grab and show you this entire property. Our goal is to get into every room in these buildings and see if we can find something paranormal.
Okay, come on. I will show you. The night, the lights are very bright.
So you'll talk to the spirits and tell them to stop flickering the lights so you can work? Wow.
So I was cleaning 418 and I was almost in the middle. And I saw the kids run between this wall and this wall very fast. So I walk all the way here and I see is nobody in the hallway. So it's a ghost kid.
What time was that, do you think, at night?
Around 11:30, midnight is a good hour. I spent the night at 422 and I feel a little hand like doing this in my head, and I woke up very fast and amazed. Oh my god, kid, I need to sleep. Sometimes this spot is very active because it's very close to the cowboy alley.
from ghost hunting. So we're headed up now to see if we can get in the bell tower of the main Stanley Hotel, and the oldest elevator I've ever been in my entire life. Let's see what we can find. We are out in the Stanley hedge maze. They built this maze because of The Shining. It's not quite the same size, but let's take a look inside. It's about 2 in the morning right now. And apparently guests have reported seeing ghosts or spirits walking through this maze late at night. I hope we don't get lost in here. Okay, I think we found the exit of the maze. We're gonna go to the lodge now, which apparently is just as haunted as the main house.
Dude, why is there a full fire going? Did you start this?
Okay, so we didn't find any ghosts tonight, but that definitely was creepy. I think if you were to stay here at the Stanley Hotel, you might have more luck. We'll see what the rest of the night brings us. All right, so we made it to the end of the video now where we do the final review out of 50, like always. So we're here in the incredible Stanley Hotel lobby. We'll get to ambiance a little later, but let's start with the room. So out of 10, we're looking at the room, we're considering all of the rooms of every hotel that we've stayed at around the world. If you're really considering the room itself, you know, as far as just the quality of the room, maybe it would be around average for what you'd expect at a solid hotel. But that's not why you stay here at the Stanley Hotel. It would be for the ghost experience or for the tours or for the various other things that they offer. One thing we did find that was interesting is that there was no water in the room, no refrigerator, and there weren't any snacks. But it made up for it with some of that charm and the unique nature of it being a heritage hotel. Overall, though, if you're looking for a hotel that is an incredible room stay, maybe this wouldn't be the spot for you, and it's probably not why you'd pick this hotel, so we give it a 5 out of 10. So now let's talk about the ambiance. So as you can see around me, they've done an incredible job of really outfitting this hotel to be just beautiful in every single place that you go, especially for the holidays. The ambiance really is accented, however, by the fact that the history of the hotel, from the Stanley steamers around the hotel itself to the lodge and the history of the fact that only men could stay in the lodge and women had to stay here at the main hotel, to the hotel being, of course, the home to the original work of The Shining, it's hard to ignore that when you're thinking about the ambiance and walking through the halls. As far as the ambiance is concerned, generally speaking, the only thing that would be possibly different is if you love modern touches or you like some, modernization, like a newer elevator or something like that, maybe that would not be the hotel for you. But generally speaking, the ambiance definitely was positive during the stay, and we gave it a 7 out of 10. Now for the dining. One thing that the Stanley Hotel does beautifully is the diversity in options you have for different restaurants. In fact, just for dinner the other night, we had 3 different restaurants that we could choose from here on the property. They also have a legendary brunch in Colorado that some people travel just to go to at their brunch location. With that being said, like I mentioned, there wasn't any options in the room for those who like to have room service or maybe some snacks in the room. And the menu, if you were to stay here for a couple of weeks, might get a little bit redundant. Overall, the dining was far above average. The quality was great, but the redundancy could potentially be a bother to some, so we gave it a 7.5 out of 10. So now let's talk about the service. So when we first checked in, one of the things that was interesting is we weren't sure where to park, where to drive to, what to do with our luggage, or if there was even going to be someone at the lodge, or that the lodge was even separate from the Stanley main hotel. It was a little bit confusing. It was also late at night, so it was tough to get around, and it's icy outside. So those things might be tough for people who are differently abled or have an elderly person in their group. It would be difficult to check in at a later time than when the hotel is actually active, which is we found until around 5 or 6 p.m. With that being said, the service at the front desk was so kind and supportive and helpful, not only in allowing us to make this video that you're watching right now, but generally just throughout the hotel to give us the history and the background of the experiences that you can have here when you book at the Stanley. Outside of that, we didn't notice some of the amenities you normally see in the service where you have that almost clairvoyant feeling. If you're, they notice that you're limping a little bit, they go and grab something. Like there's been hotels around the world that will consider every single aspect of your stay, and I don't think that that is really the reason, again, that you would stay here. It's actually more of an experience than it is really your traditional luxury hotel. So for service overall and for that reason, we gave it a 6 out of 10. Okay, now for the it factor. This is the reason you would book the Stanley Hotel. If you're a fan of Stanley Kubrick, if you're a fan of The Shining, if you love classic heritage hotels and older properties, or if you just love interesting experiences or ghosts or anything that could be potentially haunted, definitely come check out the Stanley Hotel. As far as it factors are concerned, in the haunted or spooky category, this is as high as you can really get. And as far as hotels that we've stayed at around the world, it was extremely interesting. From just wandering the property at night to doing our own little ghost hunt through the basement and some of the other places that you can just explore and search for yourself, all the way to the staff themselves telling the history, the story, and the background of the hotel. I was also fascinated by the founder of the Stanley steamer actually creating the hotel in the first place and suffering from tuberculosis and then surviving that to then have such a successful hotel. Very interesting and a massive part of the stay. Not to mention, we were really lucky with being right next door to the Stephen King Suite 217, which just added to the overall feeling of really being at a place of history. So because of that, we gave the it factor for this hotel a 9 out of 10. So overall, the Stanley Hotel in Colorado is a 34.5 out of 50. Now remember, anything above 30 is far above average. That puts this as a pretty unique hotel, and honestly, that it factor is one of the highest that we've seen so far. It's one of those places you stay at and you just want to tell everyone you know, solely because you might just encounter a ghost or hear a story that stays with you for a while. So with that, thank you so much for watching this through, and we'll see you at the next hotel. Here's Ryan.